What's up, Corbin?
Howdy, how are you, pimp?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing fine today. So, firstly, I'd like to pride you on, you're breaking liberal stereotypes right now. You know, you at least carry yourself like a man, and that goes a long way with me. So I have missed about the last 5 to 10 minutes while I've been, in the waiting lobby. Is there anything major that I missed?
I was just reading I don't know how much you saw. I was just reading Trump's executive order where he's saying that we're going to use the military as police now.
Well, yeah. Well, of course, as the people, because I'm a conservative Republican guy, or at least far right wing.
Sure.
Having more government is never what you want. And it seems like a lot of campaign promises are kind of going back on. I know that our elected officials seem to be all gung-ho on it. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be the Republicans who are saying, hey, if it's all liberals and Democrats and we can deport them, that we would be for that, because that's obviously unconstitutional. But It's going to turn to a police state over my fucking dead body. I mean, there's reasons to include the police and the military in certain areas. Like I could see you doing that in the Valley. If you're familiar where the Valley is, South Texas, where you've got all kinds of rampant cartel crime and stuff like that. But instituting martial law is unconstitutional as a motherfucker unless it's wartime.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But also, on the other hand, you talked about kind of January 6th and what that was. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, you saw the video of her where she's like, I take full responsibility for this. This is my fault. This is all my fault.
Well, what she actually, just to be clear, what she actually said is, I wish I would have done more. I could
said it's my fault.
She didn't. You won't hear it. I could play the clip for the chat, but she definitely didn't say that. She said, I should have done more. This is a
whole lot more. But I could have sworn she said it's my fault.
No,
it's my fault. You saw her
this is
in the back of the limousine with her kid filming.
Let me see if we can get on the same page here. Who's the commander in chief?
That's Donald J. Trump.
Okay,
that was in his first term.
Okay, so who was in charge of the National Guard?
Well,
the DC National Guard.
He requested to have it put in, right? Didn't he need like some sort of request? There was like some sort of middle ground there that had to happen.
Well, the request had been made already, right? So they were on standby. Why
did they ever go?
Good question. How could Nancy Pelosi stop the National Guard from going in? The only scenario where Nancy Pelosi would have been over the National Guard is if both Trump and Pence were incapacitated. She's third in line as Speaker of the House. There were 2 people in line ahead of her, Pence.
So you're essentially telling
Trump.
me that that it was essentially Mike Pence's and Donald Trump's fault that the National Guard wasn't out there?
Trump's fault, not Mike Pence's. Mike Pence was making phone calls begging them to bring in the National Guard, and nobody would listen to him. It's 100% Trump's fault.
So there's, unlike a regular coin, there's 3 sides to this one. Now we have to look at the FBI and their deep state, obviously left-wing collusion.
What does the FBI? What does the FBI have to do with the National Guard?
Ray Apps, dude.
No.
We need to go in there.
I don't think you heard my question. What does the FBI have to do with the National Guard?
With the National Guard, nothing. But they have everything to do with the fact that they went into the Capitol. They have everything. In fact, the first window that was broken was by an FBI agent.
Okay, but who's to say that those FBI agents weren't? Like, this is during Trump's administration, under Trump's FBI director. The FBI is overwhelmingly conservative. Why would you assume that an FBI agent was working against Trump when they broke in? By the way, Ray Epps, I agree with you.
That's a huge conflict of interest. That goes right against everything that he wanted. It obviously created quite the clusterfuck for him, and that's not foreseeable.
Wait, you think that Donald Trump didn't like that this happened?
Hell no.
So why did he pardon it? Then why did he pardon them?
Well, because they were trying to literally give these people years and years in prison, and what it was a tour of the fucking.
It was a tour. So the
Capitol.
Why did you say it was a tour?
It was a guided tour.
It was. So people didn't go and beat the shit out of cops.
No, I think there was some injuries, but the cop that died it was a heart attack. Excuse me, dude.
Some injury. Okay, did the people? What happened first? Did the people storm the Capitol and beat up police, or did they open the doors first?
I think that they started beating police up first. Isn't that right?
That's right. And so if you've watched the testimony from the police officers who opened the doors, the reason they went and they opened doors for people is they were trying to move people away from the entrance, places where they couldn't get to Congress, and they were overwhelmed. So what they did is they started opening doors, and because literally everybody there is just a sheep, they just followed. And so that was was an event that actually saved more lives. That was an event that kept people safer. But it is absolutely crazy to me that that on your side of the aisle you see a video of people showing up in Trump gear, beating up police, chanting "Hang Mike Pence." They're trying to overturn an election, and Trump stands by and does nothing, doesn't ever send in the National Guard, and then you have found a way to ignore reality and blame fucking Ray Epps, who's a Trump supporter, and the Capitol Police and Nancy Pelosi. No. You guys, no.
Know that he had the hat on. I mean, you're undercover FBI.
He said he was a Trump supporter. He was not undercover. The FBI did not know he was there.
Is that what the FBI said?
Correct.
The FBI is the last
Trump's
people in the
FBI
entire world that we can trust. I mean,
Trump's FBI.
They were part of killing
Trump's
Kennedy
FBI.
And MLK.
Excuse me. Trump's FBI.
Yes, sir.
You don't trust. So
yeah,
Trump,
all of it.
So
FBI
why can't
was after him the whole time? That's the same FBI that went and raided Melania's panty drawers. But yet,
brother,
whenever
listen,
Biden had a whole bunch of documents in his garage,
with all due respect, now you're playing whataboutism. You guys are terrified to have a real discussion. You like your whole side.
Well, I'm not
let me finish.
I'm
let me finish, please. You guys are terrified to stay on subject. So let's fucking stay on subject. Let's talk about the events as they rolled out on January 6th. Trump has a rally at the Trump's.
You can't trust the
let's
FBI.
talk about it, please. Excuse me. Let's talk about what happened first, and let's see if before we blame the FBI, let's see if you're willing to live in reality.
All right. I mean,
January
6th.
January 6th.
I really do.
I know, but and that's why I'm saying. So let's test it, because I think that I'm going to say things that maybe your normal news organizations or normal sources wouldn't say. Let's just see where we can find common ground. January 6th
I'm
was
very like Alex Jones.
January 6th was a planned protest. That was to follow Trump's speech at the Ellipse. Right? We're on board with that.
Yeah, and he did tell him.
Well, let me finish. No. Just stay with me. At that lip speech, were there multiple people that said things like fight, and they didn't add the caveat of doing it peacefully?
That's totally true. Yeah.
Okay. I agree with you that Trump said we are going to march the Capitol, and he said peacefully and patriotically. Do we agree on that?
Yeah, no, that was the exact quote. Yeah, cool. I didn't remember. Yeah, peacefully, patriotically is what he said.
Are you aware that many people showed up to that speech with firearms, and they were turned around, and Trump asked the Secret Service not to turn them around, said they are not going to hurt me? Are you aware that people showed up with firearms?
Yeah, but firearms are cool.
Not in DC. Not in DC. They're not. It's against the law. But are you aware?
It's against the law to have guns in DC on Capitol grounds?
Oh yeah. Are you aware that there was a plan, not by Donald Trump, but there was an organized plan to not only storm the Capitol, but also take control of other government buildings? It was called Winter Palace. Are you aware of that plan?
Yeah, I think I'd heard of Winter Palace, but whose plan was that?
That was the Proud Boys.
Who did that?
That was the Proud Boys.
Oh, golly.
Okay. Are you aware that the Proud Boys had weapon caches all around outside of the city?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware?
Include the pipe bomb. The pipe bomb was FBI's, wasn't it?
No, we don't know about the pipe bomb. I think it's a guy named Ivan Rakin, who is a very Trump person. There's a couple
of open theories on it.
There's open theories. Sure. Yeah. It's crazy that we don't know, because we know so much about that person. We know where they went. We know what the subway they got on. We know where they got off. We know the car that they got in. If we're going to talk about an FBI cover-up, I think we should look at the
FBI definitely knows about that.
I agree with you. I also think it's Trump's FBI that knew about it, and I think it's them that covered it up. But we could disagree.
But
hold on, let's just go back.
Trump?
Let's go back. Yes, absolutely. The FBI is conservative. The FBI has always been conservative. It's overwhelmingly conservative. Liberals have very little impact on the FBI. It's almost always.
Think it looks like
it's that. Almost. Well, let's keep going back. Let's go back. So there's a plan to storm the Capitol. The people that stormed the Capitol, I think most of them, 95% of the people that stormed the Capitol that day, I don't think they knew what. I do not think they knew what they were doing. I think they thought, because so many other people were doing it, and because they had been sent there by Trump, that what they were doing is okay. Would you agree with that? That's
probably absolutely totally true.
Okay.
What about the other 5%? What's your theory on the other 5%?
Let me just ask you: if you don't think you're breaking a law, but you break the law, should there still be consequences?
Yeah, but not like what they did. Like, for example, the shaman, remember the guy who pretty much went, he should have taken a shit.
I understand. We can go one-on-one. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. The 5% of the people that were there, that knew what was going on, they were using those people, and they violently overthrew the Capitol, correct?
No, I'm not going to say they violently overthrew. It was a walking tour, and
Excuse me.
a
So,
cop had a
when I see
had a heart attack.
when I see police officers being sprayed, when I see them being hit with metal poles, when I see one of them being pulled from their ranks, thrown to the ground, and beaten with a MAGA flag and an American flag, and he's being kicked on the ground, I'm supposed to say that's a peaceful tour?
Not that part. No,
Okay, so there was a lot of violence.
That incident specifically,
a lot of violence.
No way anybody could argue that's not violent.
But there was a lot of violence, right? Not, I would say that
I mean, if that's like you have like one or two instances of like things like that, it wasn't like absolute pandemonium. It was, I mean, have
you heard the phone calls?
Like walking around looking at the paint.
Yeah. That's after. That's after they've already stormed in and broke through the Capitol.
That's I mean, it's because the whole thing seems like one big old.
They didn't let them in. They got beat up, and then they said they had no choice. They were outnumbered, and so when they let people in at that point, they tried to move them away from where Congress was, and that's why the QAnon shaman. By the way, the QAnon shaman and the two police officers who paraded him around, they have all testified to the exact same thing. They have all testified that they were walking him away from the trouble. The QAnon shaman, I live in Arizona. He lives 10 miles away from me.
Have you met the guy?
I have met.
You see him at the grocery store?
I met him when he was at a rally. I didn't meet him. I saw him at a rally. We'll say that.
Oh.
But he pled guilty. The thing that we have to remember is most of the people that were there that day pled guilty. Most of the people that were there that day did not get prison sentences. Most of them never went to prison, but they were charged with the crime and they do have a criminal record. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay. If you don't know that you can't storm the Capitol and go in, I think it's okay for you to have a criminal record. But the point is that Donald Trump sat there and watched it all unfold on TV, and at any point, he could have sent the National Guard. There is nobody that can overrule him. Nobody. He is the only person who could have sent the National Guard, and nobody could have stopped him. And he didn't do it.
I mean, I know. So maybe reasons is hopefully he was going to stay in another 4 years. Could that be a possibility? I mean, that one was totally rigged and jacked. That one was stolen left ways and Sunday.
Brother, that is, with all due respect, that is the dumbest fucking opinion. I live in Arizona. Dude, we've had 5 fucking audits. It's cost the taxpayers here like $100 million. We've had 5 audits all done by Republicans, and they can't find any fraud.
They must have done a real good job.
No, he lost, dude. He just lost. That's what happened. He lost.
I find it so hard to believe that.
I know, because you don't want to face reality. Brother, get it together. You're a grown up. You're a grown-up. Trump's own FEC director said it's the safest and most secure election. His own FEC, the guy he put in charge.
Furthest thing from the
you just want to believe it.
Turn around and try to
Listen,
get him.
what part of Texas do you live in?
I'm from Bowie, Texas. It's a little bitty town in North Texas. Right now, I'm on a drilling rig location in West Texas.
So you grow up around conservatives, right?
I mean, I'm from the largest part of nothing but red counties without a dot of blue in the entire United States. I
don't mean this in a rude way. I grew up in the reddest of red places. I was a Republican into
Mesa.
I grew up in Utah.
Okay.
Deeply red, but Mesa's also deeply red. Very conservative where I live. I'm in Andy Biggs's district. Andy Biggs is as conservative as you get. But if you don't grow up around liberals, you don't know. You have no idea what we think. You don't know. Hold on. You don't know. You don't know because you live in an area of the country where Trump is very popular. So it's hard for you to imagine that there's other places in the country where he's deeply unpopular, including in Arizona. In Arizona, he went after John McCain, who is beloved. He said, I like a war criminal, or I like a soldier who's not captured. All right.
Yeah, no.
From the draft dodger.
Crappy, but I don't like John McCain either. He's the reason in the UFC you got to wear gloves. He was kind of a rhino.
No, he's not the reason the UFC has to wear gloves. That's not true.
Oh, for sure.
No, it's not.
Called it human cockfighting.
Yeah, but that's not why they had to wear gloves.
He changed a lot of the rules. Listen that they have weight class.
Listen, I'm as big as a UFC fan as there is. I'm just telling you that's untrue. But he did oppose the UFC, and I agree with that. He was wrong opposing the UFC, but all that shit's not true. Either way, Donald Trump is the only person who could have stopped January 6th from happening, and he didn't. But why do you think they keep telling you Nancy Pelosi could?
Probably because she said I accept full responsibility.
Do you want me? I can play the clip. You want me to read her quote?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I don't think you can.
Sure.
I don't think you can hear the clip because we're on stream. I can play it for everybody else, and I'll read it to you.
Okay, for sure. That works fine.
Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, but no, I'm
Here
a
we go.
combat sports coach on the side when I'm off, and that's why I don't like John McCain's, because I feel like he ruined my sport.
Well, it's done pretty well without him. All right, I'm going to play this for the audience real quick. I don't think you can hear it, but give me 1 sec. Actually,
Sure.
Let me do this. I actually think I can play it through Discord. Let me try this. I think I can actually share this with you. Let me do this. Oh yeah, I can. Sweet. All right, you should be able to hear. Do you see my screen share there on Discord?
Yes, sir.
All
I
right.
see it says watch stream.
Yeah, click on watch stream. You'll be able to see this. Here's the quote from Nancy Pelosi. I need one with she has a mask on. I need one with
where she's in the
closed
limo.
captions.
You know what I'm talking about?
Let's
I'm talking
see.
about where she's in the limo and her daughter's recording her.
Let's see if I can find it here.
There's no way it's taken off X.
It's not taken off. I just don't know exactly what to search. Let's see. Is this it? Let's see.
Oh, that's an interesting one where her daughter's pretty much saying,
No, don't. You want to watch it? I haven't seen it.
I think time is going to remember January 6th differently. Right now, people are still, there's two things. Media needs stuff to fill. I mean, if you watch TV on January 6th, it was like January 6th, 24/7. As time goes on, it's going to be less. Yeah. And so I think also people are going to lose their office, the jobs. The people that were there are going to lose their jobs. It's not going to mean anything if you weren't even there and you didn't even care.
We need like a water break out.
Yeah, no, it's right. No. Okay, I thank you for your time.
Oh, absolutely.
Listen,
So she just said the people are going to stop watching it. I don't know what that is. Let me.
yeah, so you need to capitalize and never waste a good crisis.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they set it up, right?
It
doesn't. Wait, no. Be honest. Be honest. Does that? Okay.
There it is, right there. I think that's it, right there.
All right,
and it has captions too.
Perfect. There we go.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
So I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more. So what does that mean? Can Nancy Pelosi call? Can Nancy Pelosi call in the national? Let's just say I agree. She's saying that she didn't do enough, but let's talk about what she could actually do as Speaker of the House. What could the Speaker of the House done to get the National Guard there?
I mean, get them out there to cover her ass, but I mean, there's reasons.
No.
Why
What could she do? What's within her power that she could have done?
She can get them out there.
How?
Give them a call. Pick up the telephone.
They don't respond. She's not in charge of them. Let me show you a letter.
Well, then why would she take responsibility and accountability for it?
She said
if it's not even possible.
Well, she didn't say that. Now you're adding words, right?
She said accountability at the beginning. I forget in what context.
Yeah, accountability for not being prepared.
Yeah, how else could she have prepared with the National
That's what I'm asking you. That's what I'm asking you. What is within her purview?
I would figure just giving him a call. And what am I missing here?
What you're missing here is that Donald Trump is the one that was in charge. Let me show you this letter. This is from the at the time acting Secretary of Defense. So the National Guard in Washington D.C. The National Guard usually is under the jurisdiction of the governor of the state. But on January, the DC National Guard, they report actually to the Army, to the Secretary of the Army, because there's no governor in Washington, D.C. So it's the only National Guard that reports directly to the Secretary of the Army. This is a letter that went out to from Christopher Miller. He said, this memorandum responds to your January 4th memorandum regarding the District of Columbia request for DC National Guard support in response to planned demonstrations from January 5th to 6th. So somebody, and in this case, it was the mayor of DC, asked for DC National Guard to be ready for support on January 5th and January 6th. You are what he said here is you, Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., are authorized to approve the requested support subject to my guidance below and subject to consultation with the Attorney General. Without my subsequent personal authorization, so this is Christopher Miller, who is in charge of the D.C. National Guard, and he reports to Donald Trump as commander-in-chief. He said, without my authorization, the D.C. National Guard is not authorized the following. They're not authorized to be issued weapons, ammunition, bayonets, batons, ballistic protection equipment like helmets and body armor. They are not authorized to interact physically with protesters, except when necessary in self-defense or defense of others. They are not authorized to employ any riot control agents. They are not authorized to share equipment with law enforcement agencies. They are not authorized to use intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance assets to conduct incident awareness and assessment activities. They are not authorized to employ helicopters to conduct searches, seizures, arrests, or other similar direct law enforcement activity, or to seek support from any non-DC National Guard units. Now, he says at all times, this is the important part, at all times, the DC National Guard will remain under the operational and administrative command and control of the commanding general of the DC National Guard, who reports to the Secretary of Defense through the Secretary of the Army. So the only people that could have authorized the DC National Guard were the Secretary of the Army through the Secretary of Defense or Donald Trump.
Not even the mayor? Because, I mean, I'm seeing people in the chat say
Correct.
the mayor could have done it.
No.
I'm seeing people say that Trump offered to send the National Guard, but
let me read. Well, these are all things that you guys have been told, but this is the letter. Just hear this again. At all times, is there any variance there? All times means every minute of every.
No. There's no.
Right?
There's no variables.
So at all times, the DC National Guard will remain under the operational and administrative command and control of the commanding general of the DC National Guard, who reports to the Secretary of Defense through the Secretary of the Army. Do you see any wiggle room there where the mayor of DC would be able to call in the National Guard or the Speaker of the House?
Not in the email. I didn't know it was up to an email, but
yeah,
I totally get it.
Yeah. So on January 6th, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mike Pence, they were all calling Christopher Miller. And they couldn't get Christopher Miller on the phone. And Donald Trump wouldn't answer any of their calls. You can go look through, they were calling his chief of staff.
And he didn't pick it up.
He wouldn't answer their calls. His own kids were begging him to send the National Guard, and he wouldn't listen.
Really?
Yes. Don Jr.
Where's that coming from?
Don Jr. if you can go and watch the testimony from J6. These were all in depositions. Both Ivanka.
You don't strike me as a liar. If you say they did, yeah, just where did you read that?
Well, I could probably show it to you. Let's see. Let's see.
But then, are we going to pretend for a second like Nancy Pelosi operates within the realm of law, like she obeys the law at all? How much is
it? Doesn't matter. It's not about how she operates. It's about how people respond to her. So if you're saying like, I understand you're saying, look, I think you're probably saying that Nancy Pelosi clearly does insider trading. I agree with that. It's pretty fucking clear.
There's all kinds of shit.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But that doesn't mean that she can call in the National Guard and that they'll listen to her. She had no authority to call in the National Guard. I just read you the letter. There was a handful of people who could call in the National Guard. Even Mike Pence couldn't do it. He was begging. Mike Pence was begging every Republican he could get on the phone. You can watch the clips of Mike Pence calling and saying like, dude, can we get the fucking National Guard? Except for he didn't say fucking because it's Mike Pence. But I mean, this is where I have a problem with our country. And frankly, my biggest problem with Donald Trump is that we can't agree on what reality is. And the reality is you guys lost an election and Donald Trump convinced a bunch of people it was stolen. The crux of it, like the 2000 Mules, that movie, with that everybody used as evidence
Yeah.
that they've had to apologize, and they've admitted that they did not have evidence, that the evidence in that movie was made up. They've been forced to acknowledge that it was made up.
Really? And they came out with a statement on that,
Yeah, I can,
essentially saying it wasn't true.
yeah. This is from NPR, but it's from Dinesh D'Souza, who was the filmmaker. He said in a statement that the film and the book of the same name were based on cell phone geolocation data collected by an organization called True the Vote. That's a Texas-based nonprofit.
Did Nancy not have the power through Trump? I saw this in the chat. It said none of this matters because Trump offered the National Guard to Nancy, so she had the power through him and his office.
That's what that letter I was showing you was. This letter, this letter is them saying, yes, here's the National Guard, and here's what they can do, and we're under control. So the letter I read you is a response to Muriel Bowser requesting the National Guard. And on the 5th, by the way, there's another letter that on the 5th, they're basically checking in, and they ask Muriel Bowser on the 5th, do you need National Guard? And she's like, no, I don't need National Guard today. Like, it's fine. And that's because on the 5th, there was nothing going on. There was like a few like rallies, and they're like, our police has it under control. And basically they were saying like for traffic control. Like there's planned protests.
So you don't believe there's any underlying motives at all? On the left, there's just no plausible way that there could be some kind of plan put in place here. Is that kind of your stance?
Bro, January 6th was...
That's also kind of a wild opinion, too.
January 6th, what was happening on that day? What process...
Bullshit.
No, what process were they trying to stop?
They were trying to stop the stolen election.
The certification, right?
Yep, that's right.
Why the fuck would we try and stop that? Why would we try and stop that process?
Look at what happened under... Were you here for the Biden administration?
No. Why would...
You seem like you're lucid and more lucid than he was.
Why would we try and stop Joe Biden from taking over and give it back to Donald Trump?
Did you see what Biden did? He wasn't even there. He was gone.
So you think
he wasn't even present.
Let's go with that, okay? Let's go with that. So you're saying that the Democrats saw that Joe Biden was too old and thought last minute, oh, we better save this and overturn the election and give control back to Trump.
No.
Okay, then why would we do it? Then why would we stop it?
To where we can make like Trump led an insurrection against the country and paint Trump as a traitor. You know, they're not stupid people. They like control, and that's
let me ask you this.
Be able to keep it and be able to control, because I mean, look at who was saying a lot of what you're saying. You have CNN, MSNBC,
Wait, hold on,
ABC,
hold on.
All of the news that is known for lying.
Hold on,
to
let's
us.
talk about the people that were involved. Is there a single person who went before the courts and blamed Nancy Pelosi or the Democrats?
They never put Ray Epps before the court.
Are there any people who went before?
And I think they had
Excuse
their
me,
eyes
come on,
dotted and
man. Hey, listen, be good faith.
Crossed, man. I think
It feels like right now
Yes,
you don't want to answer my question. So you're going to answer questions I'm not asking.
Okay, so no, I'll answer your question. Forgive me.
Okay. Was there anybody who went before the courts and said, I was actually here at the direction of the Democrats?
Not before the courts, but I mean, even that court.
Let me ask you a second question. Why, if these people were there for the Democrats, and if they didn't do anything wrong, why did the overwhelming majority of them plead guilty?
Well, because they're faced with time.
Okay.
It's the same reason, like whenever you get a mobster.
Fair enough. Last question. If these
there and you're like, hey,
last question on this one, and then you can go. If all of these people were plants by the DNC and they did it just to make Trump look bad, then why the fuck?
Yeah.
Then why the fuck did he pardon all of them?
Or I'd say deep state. I wouldn't necessarily.
Why did he pardon all of them?
Because like grandma.
No, he pardoned all of them. No.
Wrong.
He pardoned all of them, even the violent
even the ones that were out there whooping cops' ass.
Yeah,
like
if they were
like. Yeah, the guy who smacked the cop with a pole.
If they weren't there for him, why is he pardoning them?
I don't know if you go smacking a cop with a pole that I don't know. So
Trump pardoned him.
I disagree with Trump on a lot.
Trump pardoned him. Trump pardoned every violent offender. Trump. The leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, was sentenced to I think like 40 years for seditious conspiracy.
Oh, see,
hold on. Other Proud Boys. The reason that his case was so open and shut is other Proud Boys testified against him, and they had all of his chat logs, and they had the plan, the Winter Palace plan, and you could read it out. It was the easiest case to win. It was remarkably easy to win. So why are the Proud Boys then?
They covered up a lot.
So the Proud Boys have this whole plan together that they're going to overthrow but they're secretly like Democrat operatives?
Oh no, I won't say that. I'd say there are a lot of retarded soy boys that are betas
do
and want to pretend like they're alphas. That's what I'd say for that
do me a
group.
favor. I realize that that's not like. Do me a favor and don't use that slur on here, please. Is that cool?
What did I say?
The R slur. Look,
I don't even know what the R slur is.
You said retarded.
Cuss word that starts.
Yeah, just don't use that on this stream. I appreciate that.
I forgot that word got taken away from us. You got it. You got it.
Appreciate that. Thank you. So this is a problem. This is a problem. Like do you have any link? Do you have any link to Nancy Pelosi outside of things that you think look suspicious? Do you have any hard evidence
other than things that look suspicious? I mean, I think they did a good job of crossing their T's and dotting their I's.
So they're just great. They're just great at it.
Well executed plan to try to paint Trump supporters as traitors to the nation.
Okay. So in this,
they've been great at it. I mean, you saw
in this,
whenever Kennedy died, MLK died,
listen, brother, I hate to tell you, Kennedy was a Democrat, and it was the right wing led.
No, for sure, for sure.
But hold on. Let's just go. Hold on. Let's just go back here. Let's just go back. What you're saying is Democrats are so good. Democrats are so good that we were able to convince people to go to jail, lie that they were there to support Donald Trump. They were able to convince the Proud Boys to come up with this plan. They were able to convince Trump to hold a rally on January 6th. They were able to convince Charlie Kirk to bus in a bunch of Turning Point USA people to come to that speech. They were able to convince all these Republicans to put out ads all over the country that they would get on planes. They were singing the anthem dressed in their MAGA gear. We're so goddamn good at this that we convinced all you guys to come to a speech. Then we convinced all of you to attack the Capitol, and we didn't leave a single trace of evidence. That's what you're willing to believe. But just to be clear, you're willing
agents running around saying
you're willing to believe all of that rather than just believe that maybe your guy's a criminal.
No, I wouldn't say he's a criminal. Not nearly like the Biden.
34 felonies. 34 felonies. He's a criminal. Joe Biden is not a criminal. Zero felonies. You don't listen, brother. I'll walk you through this. I'll walk you through this after if you want. But I just want to be clear on what you're saying here. You're saying that we are so goddamn good, and maybe that MAGA is so goddamn dumb that we were able to manipulate all of we were able to manipulate all of you guys into storming the Capitol to make Trump look bad. Trump, who by the way had just lost to a guy that can't complete sentences.
I didn't do it. There's something we should, pay attention to is that, what is it, 3/4 to a little over 50% of the population of the United States have an IQ of under 100, which is ridiculous.
And
there's a lot of dumb people out there. So I'm not saying that I was fooled or convinced or that you're behind all of it. I say it's the people that are really in charge.
Okay, but I'm just saying, what you believe is that we tricked that many people into doing it, and you're willing to believe that over all the evidence, all the guilty pleas, all the video evidence, all the people from Trump's own administration who have come out and testified against him. You are not willing to believe any of that, but you will believe that somehow Nancy Pelosi orchestrated this without a single drop of evidence. That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not. No. I don't think that's a good.
How do you think the rest of the world looks at this?
My opinions. I've conceded quite a bit on this, and in fact, my views on it have moved a little bit as far as what the rules were, and you kind of outlined quite a bit for me. But yeah, I'll absolutely say there's still absolute sufficient evidence that there's some horse shit afoot. Like we still haven't really dove into fucking the FBI. I think the FBI did it. The FBI.
So one of the things that you have
everything.
So the evidence against the FBI is that they had multiple, I think it was somewhere around like 20, might have been 30 something sources there on the ground, right?
And we're all whispering in people's ears, we need to go in the Capitol. We need to break the windows.
That's what they said, right? The FBI has confirmed that they had, I don't remember how many, let's call it 35 sources.
Yeah, and then the crowd started cheering.
Let me ask you another question. Have any did the FBI know that any of those people were there at the time?
Oh, guarantee they do. The FBI. That's
do you have any evidence? Do you have any evidence of that? Because the FBI said
they did. Oh, because it's the FBI. The FBI knows everything. But they know when you sneeze shit and.
Do you know what an FBI source is? Is that a member of the FBI?
An FBI source is?
Yeah.
No, not directly.
No. So these sources mostly are people.
Hand of the FBI.
These people are mostly sources, people that the FBI goes to spy on people, specifically right-wing.
Exactly.
Wait. Specifically, right-wing terrorist organizations like the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers or the Three Percenters. And we know that it was the Proud Boys who led the charge. It was the Oath Keepers. It was the 3%ers that were on the ground, mostly leading the charge. So wouldn't it make sense? So wouldn't it make sense?
Really did the convincing.
So wouldn't it make sense that the people who the FBI is using as human sources to try and rat out the Proud Boys, by the way, which they did, they wound up ratting them out. Wouldn't it make sense that those people who were already on the right show up there?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Okay.
They would already show up there and be all gung ho for it, and be like, "Hell yeah!"
So who's the
break that
So
door
who's
down.
the FBI? So who's the FBI agent that was in the crowd?
The big one that we all know is Ray Epps, but I mean there was lots. The guy who broke the first window was FBI.
No, he wasn't. He was an
With the flag?
He was
Yeah.
an asset. He was a source.
Exactly. So he's in bed with the FBI.
No. He's doing work for the FBI, and he's in bed.
Exactly.
And he's in bed with the Proud Boys. But is there no scenario where somebody who's a source
And being the first.
Wait, hold on. Is there no scenario where somebody who's a source also could be part of a violent insurrection? Like they already joined a violent hate group.
But that's like all speculation. That's super speculative.
Well, everything you've said is speculation.
Well, granted. But
Did you
still,
know?
that's
Did you know
also
that?
speculative.
Did you know that Ray Epps was never an FBI employee? Are you aware of that?
He's sourced the whole time, but they protected.
No.
the
The
shit out of him throughout
FBI
the whole
hasn't
time.
even confirmed him as a source.
Exactly. That kind of only
Brother,
helps what I'm saying.
brother, this is the problem with your logic, is that your logic is when there's no evidence, it makes you believe things more. And when there is evidence of something, you believe it less. This is the
I'm basing it off of patterns. So whenever we're
What
talking
pattern?
about the FBI, I look at them as an organization. The FBI's pattern of total deceit of the American people.
Bro,
of you and me and everybody.
Bro, Ray Epps was a nobody. Ray Epps stood outside, too afraid to go in,
But
and he
he's
told
somebody who
everybody
did
and he
something.
told everybody else to go. And you guys are just trying to like pin it on him. You guys will do anything but blame your own
Not him.
side.
I think it's the,
Brother,
I think it's the Bureau. I think it's
brother,
the
he was in a fucking Trump hat. Everybody there was wearing Trump gear. Trump didn't send the National
It's a
Guard.
good disguise.
The people were there to overturn an election for Donald Trump, and you will blame anybody but your side. It's cowardice.
Well, I mean, I
no,
think I would
I
blame
like-
anybody probably.
No, I
but
like you.
Trump
I
over
like
it.
you. And I'm saying
I
this,
appreciate
and
it.
I'm saying this because I think like you're probably a man's man, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm saying
You
it.
didn't hurt my feelings.
Take it like a friend to a friend. I think you're a fucking
You got
coward.
it.
I think you're a
Whoa.
fucking
Hey.
coward when it comes to evidence. I think you are too
When
afraid
it
to
comes to
admit.
evidence-
I think you're too afraid to admit that you got duped. Because every time we show you evidence, it makes you believe what the opposite. And every time there's no evidence, it makes you believe it more. And I think that's
Well, there's
I
no
think that's just
situation where I'm gonna
absolute
end up.
cowardice.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm prepared to fight and die. I mean, I don't know
For
if
what?
that makes me a coward. But
For what though?
oh, for
I believe.
anything, for my kids.
How are
hell,
you-
even over some egotistical shit?
How are you
But-
even going to know what you're fighting for if you don't look at the correct information? If you don't parse through information and figure out what's real, how are you going to
Oh,
assure?
you've definitely given me a whole lot, but I just can't see myself siding with the FBI. I hate.
I'm not
all them
siding with the
three-letter
FBI.
agencies.
No.
NSA, FBI.
No,
I mean,
no.
It sounds like it.
I'm not siding with the FBI. I'm telling you that you're blaming the FBI instead of Trump. This is what your side does, and it's sick. Honest to God, this is a cult. You guys won't blame Donald Trump for anything. I saw a tweet this morning. Let me see if I could pull it up, and I thought it was a perfect example. I'm
not a textbook conservative. I am right wing, but
I understand,
I don't
but
say they're my side.
would you?
I hate Ted Cruz's bitch ass.
Yeah, everybody hate. You guys can all tell me a Republican that you hate, and you can all criticize a Republican.
Oh,
but
I got a long list.
except for Donald Trump.
He's kind of a pimp. He's top G.
See, that's
man.
the problem. You guys think he's great. He's a fucking idiot. He is so
He's a
goddamn
gangster.
dumb. No, he's dumb.
You want me
He's
to-
dumb. That's it.
I'll tell you something. I mean, he made billions. You know, he did a good job in business. But here, let me tell you something you might like. So my little brother does a really good Trump impression, right? I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. And so he's in my phone contact as Trump. And he calls my children as Donald Trump. And he'll talk to them for 30, 40 minutes at a time. And then they listen to all the rap music that Trump comes out with. Like, to my children,
cult-
Trump,
that's
the sun
cult
rises
behavior.
and sets on his ass.
Yeah, bro, you're in a
It's
fucking
hilarious,
bro,
though.
you're in a fucking cult. It's
You can't
fucking
say
no,
that's
dude.
not funny.
No, it's
When-
no, it's
when you got
not.
a 4-year-old
It's-
talking to the president,
Listen, I
it's a big
escaped.
deal.
I escaped a cult. This is how cults.
Like an actual cult?
Yes, this is how cults act. You guys have this deference to the leader, and you guys think like this is what used to happen all the time when our leader would speak. He would say something that was like If I said it, nobody would laugh. But if he says it, it fucking kills. And that's
It's
Trump.
hilarious.
And that's Trump. Trump is like generic and not that bright. But because you guys all think he's great, if he says something even remotely funny, it kills. The point is, what I was looking at this morning, the criticism was, I don't remember which influencer it was. Somebody was criticizing and they tagged Pam Bondi. And they're like, Virginia Guthrie, the Epstein witness, killed herself, and they're like, hey, Pam Bondi, you promised that we were going to get answers. Nobody's trusting you anymore. You better get us answers soon. Where the fuck's Donald Trump? Why doesn't anybody blame Donald Trump for that? He's the one that made the promise.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do you think you guys don't blame Donald Trump for the Epstein list not being released?
Oh, dude, that pisses me the fuck
okay.
off.
Well,
that pisses me the fuck off. But hey, let's look at who he was working with, like the Clintons. He's a Mossad agent.
Excuse me.
That goes right in with Israel.
Excuse me.
Big problem.
He was much better friends with Donald Trump than he ever was with Bill Clinton.
Oh, no way. I don't remember him having a painting of Donald Trump in a dress when you showed up to the special island.
Do you remember the pictures of him and Donald Trump at parties together, pointing at women?
I think it was like one or two
No.
Even all that affiliated. There's not a great deal of evidence to show that. You're gonna have to bring in on that.
Unfortunately, I don't think you've done your research here. If you go through so one of the pieces of information that has been put out is his call logs. It's from his secretary, and these are incoming calls. You know who appears on that log more than just about anybody? Donald Trump. Incoming. Why is he calling
call logs to Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah,
like he's giving him calls
and flight logs.
What the fuck for?
Why is Donald?
Why is he calling some pedophile Mossad agent?
I don't know. I don't know, man. What do you think?
That's dirty business. Now you would talk about getting my wheels turning. That's some horseshit.
How about this? Did you know that there is a child who you can read the affidavit? It's Kate. The name is Kate. The chat will help me. That has accused Donald Trump in graphic detail, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and this is long before he ran for president, of raping her.
Was this? I mean, so is this
Katie Johnson?
This has got to be different than that one case where he's like paying hanky panky in the department store. Where that case was total horseshit.
That wasn't either.
E. Jean Carroll.
No, we can go to that later. But do you know about the name?
Okay,
do you know the name?
We'll stick to this because I know that
Katie
case
Johnson.
is kind of horseshit.
Katie Johnson.
So she was a child at the time, and she was affiliated with Epstein.
Yeah. So what Epstein would do is Epstein would pay people to go out and find girls, and then once he had girls, he would tell these other girls like, "Hey, bring your girls around." And all of these girls have testified about nobody cared when the girls testified about Prince Andrew. Everybody believed it. When they testified about Epstein, everybody believes it. When you see a picture of Bill Clinton, you believe it. When you hear stories,
of course,
but the one person you won't believe it about is Donald Trump, who's all over those flights. Who's all over. There's way more evidence. He's on He's on flight logs. He's on call. He's on call logs. He's a co-conspirator in a lawsuit. There's video after video after video. There's videos of Donald Trump at parties with him. There are records of Jeffrey Epstein flying with underage girls and saying, "Oh, you know where we got to go? I'll call my friend Donald. We'll just stay at his casino," and flying into Atlantic City and staying in Trump's casino.
Oh, gosh.
They were best buds, dude.
If what you're saying is true, you're trying to break my whole cult reality. I'll tell you.
You're goddamn right I am. You're goddamn right. Because you know why I left the Republican Party?
The whole system's fucked. That means the left's fucked. The right's
no.
Everybody's playing with Israel.
No, the reason I left the Republican Party was because at the same time I was escaping my cult, Donald Trump came along. And all the people in my cult started treating Donald Trump the exact same way they were treating our cult leader. And I realized at that point, you guys don't care. If he does something wrong, you pretend it didn't happen. Like when he lost Iowa in the caucuses. If you remember this, the very first primary was Iowa, and he lost to Ted Cruz. And what did he say at the end of that?
Whenever he lost?
Yeah, when he lost the Iowa primary, what he said it was rigged.
I mean, how do you lose to Ted Cruz though? I mean, that does seem kind of wild. I mean, hell, I'd probably say the same shit.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz is a fucking Canadian who pretends that he's from Texas.
Every time he lost a court case, he said it was rigged.
Well, I mean, I could definitely see that with the horseshit trials out in
Let's talk.
New York.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about E. Jean Carroll. Let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah. You seen her interview with Anderson Cooper? That girl is nuttier than squirrel shit.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you think of her personally. Let's talk. No.
No.
No, what
She's also falsely accused multiple people.
No, she hasn't. What you're doing right now is you are trying to smear a witness, and you're refusing to look at the details of the case. I want to
just know what
explain.
I've seen how fucking
explain
crazy
this.
she is.
Explain this to me. Explain to me how there is sufficient evidence for a jury of Trump's peers, a jury, by the way, that was also selected from Trump's attorneys. How is it that Trump goes through a lawsuit and a jury says, yep, you did it. You're liable for sexual abuse and you're liable for defamation, and he loses that court case, and then he appeals it and he loses the appeal too. And then he goes to New York and he has another case and he loses that case. And his lawyer doesn't even request a jury.
This is in New York.
Just, hold on. This isn't
ass.
Letitia James. His lawyer forgets to ask for a jury. He loses that one. Then he goes to a criminal case. And we know at least 2 of the jurors on that criminal case were right-wingers, like Trump right-wingers. And they unanimously decided 34 felonies. And you guys, this is the problem. Again, like I said, every time Trump is found guilty, you guys believe him more. That's cult shit, dude. That's cult shit.
Hey, that mugshot did look pretty cool.
No, he looks like a fucking idiot. It only looks cool if you're in the fucking cult, man. Do you think
that's like
do you ever see a scenario?
Do
you ever see a scenario where you saw a mugshot of Joe Biden and think it's cool?
I mean, he never looks good in any picture.
Yeah, because you don't look at him.
My mugshots do. You Google my name and my mugshots come up.
Whatever. Whether the mugshots, whatever. Whether it's cool or not. The point is that every time Donald Trump gets caught doing something, you guys become more and more convinced that he's innocent, and that's a crazy way to operate in your life. Like you're a grown ass man. You're a grown ass man. If you can, are you married?
Yeah.
What if your wife, you caught your wife cheating on you, and then she cheated on you again, and every time she cheated on you, your friends are like, bro, you got to get out of this. And every time you just kept going, no, they're just setting her up. They just want us to break up. It's just my friends want us to break up because they're jealous because my wife's hot. That's the same exact thing that you're doing with Trump.
No, I would go the OJ route.
Don't say that.
Probably.
No, this is no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't, because you're I mean this respectfully. You're a little bit You're a little bit cucky to Donald Trump.
Oh, cucky to Donald Trump.
Yeah. A little bit.
No, I'm something of a violent individual whenever it comes to shit like that.
Yeah, but like behind closed doors, you like to watch Trump, and you sit in your chair in the corner and watch.
Just watch AI porn of Trump.
Probably. You probably think it was cool. You're gonna share it with me later.
Trump and Stormy Daniels. No, he's got a little bean.
Bro, listen.
I witness that. That's funny. No, I'm here for the facts. And no, I probably do something along the lines of the OJ route. Probably not hurt her.
I wouldn't say that out loud if I were you. I wouldn't be.
No, it's okay. It's
but if Trump does it, it's fine, right? The problem
if Trump does what? Trump does
I think my biggest fear in this country right now is that none of you are going to know if Trump's fucking up.
Why would you say? So here's my thing.
Because when he fucks up, you like him more.
Depending on how bad, like what you said about the Epstein thing, if that's fucking true, absolutely not. That means everything I pretty much ever believed.
But what's
is
true?
Wrong.
What's true though? Because in other court cases, you don't believe it. When E. Jean Carroll says it, yeah, that's the problem. You've been conditioned to think that everybody's against Donald Trump and he's innocent, and so every time he's convicted of something, or every time he's accused of something, you guys just figure out a way to be like, oh, it's a lefty, so I don't have to believe it, and you never look at the evidence. So let's look at the evidence of the E. Jean Carroll case.
I watch your stream.
Did you know that there is a dress that has from that day that has DNA on it? Are you aware of that?
In the E. Jean Carroll case?
Correct.
Really? What kind of DNA are we talking about?
Semen, allegedly.
Really?
Did you know?
So that's alleged.
Well,
that wasn't
and
proven.
here's the thing. They can't
only one way to get that stuff.
Well, they can't test it against Trump because it's a civil case, and he refuses to give a sample. If he's innocent, why not give a sample?
Does that mean he has to nut in a cup?
Sure.
I guess that's feasible. That you couldn't just take
blood
and test DNA.
Why not? If he's so innocent, why not offer a sample?
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, that's a tough one to sit on. You know, because I know how nutty that lady is.
Can you explain to me why E. Jean Carroll would have told?
I mean, hell, I sure would. If you're accusing me of
real quick though, could you explain?
I'm putting mine.
Could you explain why E. Jean Carroll told friends, family members, and therapists about what Donald Trump had done decades ago, and that there's written records of her actually telling her therapist about this experience, and that she didn't come forward?
How far back?
Because right after it happened, within a year or so of it happening. She went to therapy and she talked to her therapist about this, and they decided that they weren't going to go forward because Donald Trump was such a star that they didn't really want to deal with the public upheaval. But then once Trump was in office, she felt like she was obligated to. Now, I've talked to E. Jean Carroll's family. I've talked to him
personally. Okay.
Yeah.
Are they a little bit more sane than she is?
She's sane, dude. This is what happens.
I mean, you saw the Anderson Cooper interview. They had to cut that thing short.
This is what happened.
I'm not saying that she.
No, brother. There is nothing.
I changed my mind on whether or not that this happened to her. I changed my mind on that.
Saying
I don't know that she's a sane person,
brother. With all due respect, saying that I mean, this is a victim blaming shit, and I guess I can say this because we're not on TikTok, but like it is a reality that women dissociate during those times. It is a reality that there are times when women can be sexually abused and they orgasm. It's a reality that women can get wet when they're being sexually abused. That is not evidence that they gave consent. And by the way, there are also women who have fantasies or they role play situations that are similar to that. And that's what she's talking about. She's talking about the fact, like, look, let's be honest. You never. I don't know. You've been married, but like some people like to be choked. Some people like to have their ass slapped or whatever. Like these things exist in reality, but in a situation where you haven't given consent, it's still rape. So what she's saying that has been misconstrued that allows you guys to call her crazy are just actual truths. And the beauty of what E. Jean Carroll did is E. Jean Carroll took an experience that was devastating to her and she turned it and she made it her experience and she made it her life's mission to not let that keep her from living a healthy life. What she did is beautiful. She recovered from that and she dealt with it and she went through the process and she's able to publicly talk about it. She's able to have a somewhat normal semblance of a sex life, and that's what's hard to watch, is because then the media, your media, takes that and spins it and says, "Oh, she's crazy." No, she's not. Go to Pornhub and tell me that there's not a million. Go to Pornhub and tell me there's not a million videos like that. These people aren't crazy. You guys just don't want to believe Trump did anything, so you smear everybody who ever accuses him of anything, including a woman who did nothing more than go shopping and got sexually assaulted. Do you know about all the other women who have accused Donald Trump of sexual assault privately?
None of those ever stuck to the wall.
How come they're all the same story? They all had the same story before they ever met. That Donald Trump corners them, that he pushes them against a wall, that he shoves his tongue down their throat, and then he starts groping them. How did they all have the same story individually?
Yeah, he goes straight to grabbing them by the Pinocchio.
And then after all of this, we have him bragging about it when he doesn't think that they're listening. I believe that Donald Trump believes that those women. I believe that Donald Trump believed that all of those women actually wanted him to force himself on them. So I believe that Donald Trump believes he didn't sexually assault these women, but it doesn't matter what he believes. It matters what they believe, and they all have the same story. And I guess this is why I say it's a cult.
To come out with it after the fact.
They didn't come out with it after the fact. Many of them came out before the fact. You just didn't know about it until he ran for president. And then you guys had to grapple with the fact that you put up a serial sexual abuser. And rather than get rid of him you said you have kids, man. I got a daughter. I've got 6 kids. There's a 0%.
3 different baby mamas.
Dude, when I heard the allegations about Joe Biden, I spent like 8 hours researching to see if there was any validity to those claims.
What about his daughter's fucking journal? That's right in there with it.
Exactly. And I did the research on that, and we can talk about that another time. But the real problem is you have somebody who is serially accused, long before he was president, long before he ran for president. Dozens, maybe hundreds of women have accused him of sexual misconduct, including when he owned the Miss Teen USA pageant, and he would walk into their changing rooms of underage girls, and he believed it was his right to inspect the women. And you guys don't care about any of that. You just smear everybody else. You don't know about that one?
Half this shit I haven't even heard. Like, it hasn't came up on CNN. MSNBC,
Oh, it's on CNN.
ABC.
You're not watching. Be honest. You don't watch MSNBC or CNN.
Yeah, I do. I watch them. I watch them to kind of see what they want me to believe.
Well, you should believe some of it.
They are definitely the system. All the big money, all of it goes straight through those networks. I don't watch Fox either. I mean, I'll see what the hell they have to say, but you're like, for example, you're one of the people in the media that I watch.
Thank you.
So mine's pretty independent. I mean, I'll watch everything from you to Candace to Alex Jones.
What does she think about Trump right now, by the way? Me and Candace are kind of on the same page with Trump, aren't we?
Dude, and that means you're on the same page with me. This Israel shit is pissing me right the off.
Let me read you some quotes.
It's making me upset.
Let me read you some quotes. Maria Bilato, Miss Teen Vermont in 1997, says, I remember putting on my dress really quick because I was like, oh my God, there's a man in here. 3 other teenage contestants from the same year confirmed the story. The former pageant contestants discussed their memories of the incident after former Miss Arizona Tasha Dixon told the LA Times that Trump entered the Miss USA teen dressing room when she was a contestant. He just came strolling right in. There was no second to put a robe on or any sort of clothing or anything. Some girls were topless. Other girls were naked. Our first introduction to him when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked changing into our bikinis.
And this is the LA Times?
This is Rolling Stone. LA Times is the first one that reported that story.
So
the Guardian.
The story
is
trustable. The source is not, but I hope the story is.
Well, I mean, how many people need to? We got the Guardian here, New Mexico Political Report, Chicago Tribune, New Yorker.
They're all kind of.
PolitiFact has fact checked it. Yeah, dude. Like this guy, nobody has this many allegations against like. Everybody
without one sticking to the wall, and these were all made before he ran for president.
Think about
stories come from before.
Yes, all that was from 1997.
Oh shit, that's a year before I was even born.
There you go. He was a rapist before you were even born. How about all the shit he says about? How about all the weird
Epstein connections?
Wait, how about all the weird shit he said about his daughter?
That struck me as weird too.
What do you and your daughter have in common? Sex. Oh, that's weird. Well, he says I was going to say. You don't know that one? He's on an interview with The View with Ivanka.
I thought I remember him saying that she was a really pretty girl, but
all right, I'll play it for you.
He outright said that shit?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Let's see.
I know in that chat there's a bunch of people that believe like me. What are they saying about this?
Let me see if this is the right one. Let's see.
He's like, this guy's only born in 98. Yeah, I was born in 98. I got 6 kids, 3 baby mamas. These women keep trying to steal my seed.
Bro, you sound like you were born in 1848. You sound a lot older than you are.
Well, I'm just from Texas, but I can snap my fingers and speak California real quick.
There you go. That's better. That's better. All right, listen to this. I don't know if this is the right one, but this is still creepy as hell.
I'd be dating her. If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Stop it! Oh, it's so weird. Stop. You know what? You are sick.
Isn't it terrible?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, he was right. Isn't it terrible? Yes, it is terrible, dude.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find the other one about.
The other one that you said, if that's fucking real, you're going in hard today.
Let me see.
Oh yeah, yikes! That's a big yikes. So
yeah, dude, this guy's a big fucking yikes. That's why I stopped being Republican.
I mean, because we know, obviously Israel in Judaism, if you've read the Talmud, all that kind of stuff is all up for grabs.
You have in common?
It's allowed.
Are you religious?
With your father.
Sorry, let me
Either
pause
real
this.
estate
love
or
Jesus.
golf.
I do like
Donald,
me some
with
Jesus,
your daughter?
but that's kind of what
Well,
I was going to touch on
say
from what you were
sex,
talking about
but
earlier, is that these conservative Christians are all gung-ho, protect Israel, that's the Holy Land. They're Jews. Well, one, let's go over it. They're not the Jews of the Bible. The Egyptians painted what their slaves looked like, and there's no way that white skin spent 500 years under the Egyptian suns. Then if you look at Revelation 3:9 in the words of Jesus, and I'm not saying this to get religious, I'm just saying it to show that the conservative Christians shouldn't be on the side they're on. He said that there will be people in the end days that say that they are Jewish and are not. In fact, they are the synagogue of Satan. So, there's all the biblical evidence in the world to be like, these people aren't who the hell they say they are.
All right, here's the clip.
They're Jewish, but they ain't the Hebrews.
Here's the clip of Donald Trump talking about what he has in common with his daughter.
Okay.
What's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Are you playing
Either
it on
real
Discord?
estate
Oh, shit. Sorry, I forgot to share the screen. Let me
You good.
go back there. Now I got to find it. I'm not very good at Discord either. This is...
Yeah, no, I actually downloaded it to get on here.
Did you really?
Yeah, bro. You got those moving squares.
What's the
Yeah, I see
favorite
it.
thing
Gotcha.
you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
Oh, that was Hulk Hogan creepy.
Why is the crowd cheering?
I think
why is Wendy Williams just like, oop?
Because this is what we do. Like this is what you guys do to Trump too. We do this for celebrities and stars.
No part of that.
Well, let me just tell you, this is what we do for celebrities and stars. We allow them to get away with like shit because we're intimidated. So when we say like Trump gets away with saying crazy shit, it's just because people view him as a star. Like that would end. If any other presidential candidate ever had said that, his campaign is over. It's over. There are
Dunzo.
Yeah, there are a million things that Donald Trump has done. The Access Hollywood tape would have been done, but nothing ever sticks to him because you guys don't let it stick to him. We're so fucked right now. Like we literally are going into Trump is tanking the economy. He has no fucking clue what he's doing, and now
we're fucked on both sides.
And now,
you're necessarily gung-ho for the left.
I'm not. Listen, I'm critical of the left. If you watch my show, I started the show today criticizing Joe Biden. But we are unbelievably fucked, and this guy can't admit that he's wrong. So now the things are going bad. He's writing executive orders saying like, "Oh, I'm going to do martial law now." That's how fucked we are. Because we've had a hard time getting MAGA to come to the reality that, oh my God, this guy's a psycho.
What? Illegal immigration or what? What's the reason for the martial law?
It's not even about that anymore. Now he says that he wants the military involved in police work.
For fucking what?
Thank you.
The police are.
Thank you. Thank you.
The police are stepping on rights enough as it is. All you got to do is have any sort of social media. Like I'm just walking down the street with my kid, get slammed and get fucking tased. Like, no, the Constitution don't matter at all. That's a little bit mind-blowing to me.
Do you know about qualified immunity?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to get rid of that. Or not, no, excuse me. No, he wants to expand on it. Excuse me. Expand on it.
I was about to be like, hell yeah.
It's qualified immunity is not the word I'm looking for. Chat, help me with the word I'm looking for. It starts with an I. It's, goddamn.
We're talking about the ability for police to pretty much get away with shit and be protected by the Department of the Courts, right?
Correct. Yeah, that you can't sue.
Even whenever they just straight up trample your rights.
That's what it just said.
He didn't want to show me his ID, so I beat his ass with the curb.
It's called indemnification. He wants to indemnify the police, which basically is similar to like the ruling he got from the Supreme Court.
So you're going to give the weird kid from high school that was 100 pounds too heavy. You're going to give him all the power in the world.
Yeah,
he's got a power complex. I mean, I know cops. You remember them in school? They were chumps.
Yeah, fuck them. Trump's like, hey, let's make sure that we can't sue them. And I'm going to have the military there training them now and telling them what to do.
Dude, what's so funny about, the hardcore conservative right? That now they're all like, oh, blue line group, fucking back to blue and this and that. And it's like, you think back in time and you're like, think of Dukes of Hazzard. Since when have the good old boys and the fucking cops gotten along? I mean, I know the Duke boys certainly didn't. Dukes of Hazzard didn't get along with the cops at all.
Well, I know that you're in the South, but we go a little further back from that. Like, cops were just there to round up slaves that got away. That's why we have why we have police.
That was part of it back then. But I mean,
that's
also
how it started.
Whole interdiction and shit. If you were in the 1800s, you're riding your wagon down the road. You're not gonna have the lawman on the dirt road being like, "Hey, what you got in that wagon, boy?" They weren't sitting there doing all this shit. I mean, I think they're looking for a paycheck. They make their money like the sheriff in Nottingham.
I'm glad, dude. It makes me happy that you're starting to see it. This is
I've always felt like that. I mean, with Trump,
with Trump, he's clearly a fascist. He's a wannabe dictator. He wants all the power. And the crazy thing is all these people you voted for, whoever it is, whoever your representative is and your senator, they're just sitting on their hands. They're like, do whatever you want, dude. We don't, because if we talk back against you, we're all fucked. We'll all lose our spot in the party. Like, you guys have been hijacked by a con man.
I think all politicians need to go. That's the one thing that's good about him. He's not a politician.
No, don't play whataboutism right now. Don't do it. Don't move from this. Donald Trump is a one of one. We've never had anybody like Donald Trump. We've never had anybody try and trample on rights like Donald Trump. We've never had anybody try and change the Constitution through executive order. He is a one of one. All of the rest of them, it's like equal, right? If you want to compare Biden and Obama and Bush,
power for the people, you think?
What?
Like, for example, like let's look at guns. I mean, is he not all gung ho for making gun laws a lot more relaxed?
Well, first in the last two presidents between Biden and Trump, which one of them did gun legislation?
Are you going to tell me Trump did gun legislation?
Trump put in the bump stock ban.
Get the fuck out of here. Well, I got one.
Yeah, shit. Trump banned it. Biden didn't touch it.
I mean, he talked a lot about it. He talked a lot about getting rid of even, semi-automatic weapons, which
bro, he doesn't give a fuck about your guns. The truth about Donald Trump is all the things he says, you guys shouldn't. I don't know why you believe it. This guy's been this guy
less and less the more that I see him working with Israel.
He tells you what you want to hear. He's completely owned by the Saudis and Russia and Israel. They pay all.
You say owned by the Saudis. Are you talking about the money of Aramco? Because, like I told you, I'm on a drilling rig right now, and due to his tariffs, actually, in fact, with China, we're getting a lot of rigs that are being stacked, which means they're putting them up. And I work for one of the largest drilling companies in the United States, and they're being stacked right now, and the price of oil is dropping.
Yeah, so
I mean, a lot of that is tariffs,
so you guys are gonna what's gonna
better.
happen? You guys are gonna stop producing, right?
No, so that I'm part of a drilling company. Those just drill holes in the ground. Production, as far as like pump jacks in the ground and flow back, we still have so much oil in the ground out of wells that already exist that you don't necessarily need new holes poked in the ground.
Okay, but think of the first Trump administration when gas prices got really low. He went to OPEC.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I remember that.
He went to OPEC.
Oh, dude.
He negotiated.
I was on the frack side.
And he negotiated to do what? To keep the prices higher, right?
Tried to.
He did.
Whenever the prices got picked up. But yeah, but that wasn't actually to the benefit of the oil and gas market. That was to the benefit of the wildcatters, the people that own the oil companies.
Exactly. He doesn't give a fuck about you. He doesn't give a fuck about us. Honestly, he gives a fuck about the people that will pay him. And look, Trump entered office with
gas at a decent price, regardless of the cost per barrel.
Trump entered office with $1.8 billion in debt. $0 of that debt was owed to companies in the United States. Every bit of debt is financed by Russia and the Saudis and Israel. Every bit of it.
Are you talking about Russian oil companies? Because those are the only.
No. I'm talking about Trump loans, the loans on properties, the money that Trump owed. Because banks in America won't give him loans because he's such a fucking crook that nobody will do business with him. So he has to get all of his loans from foreign countries. And those foreign countries, they want something for that. They want favors for that. Which is why Trump, let's talk about one.
For example, the Kingdom of Saudi.
Let's talk about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who is currently funding Trump through Live Golf. They fund Live Golf. They pay Trump massive, exorbitant amounts of money to do tournaments at his courses. Saudis, the Saudi royal family are the people who funded 9/11. And they funded
you're totally right.
And they funded terrorism all over the Middle East. And what the Saudis have been doing the
Muslim Brotherhood.
And what the Saudis have been doing in the last 10 years is they've been trying to go in and use money to get people to forget about that. So they go to Europe and they buy soccer teams. They buy F1 teams. They buy they're in bed with the, you're UFC fan. They're in bed with the UFC now. So they go in and they buy all this goodwill. And they bought the goodwill with Trump.
Abu Dhabi.
Exactly. They gave Trump's son-in-law $2 billion. And they're like, manage this money for us. And he's not even investing it, but he still gets a management fee. They're just buying influence because they can. And Trump is the most openly bribable person. He's running a crypto scam right now where anybody can bribe Donald Trump. And there's nothing we can do about it. If you want to give Trump...
How come in the first administration his net worth was down?
It wasn't. That's a lie. It's absolutely a lie.
So what are we talking about? Different bank accounts, overseas accounts, shit like that?
Net worth is an estimate on property value, right? So there were property values that could have gone down, but
cash flow.
If you look at revenues, both Mar-a-Lago, Bedminster, both skyrocketed revenues because everybody knew. And it's everybody, like, this is common knowledge. If you want Donald Trump to do what you want him to do, go spend money at one of his properties. And so Mar-a-Lago, that's why every weekend Mar-a-Lago is booked now. It didn't used to be that way. Every weekend Bedminster is booked now, and they're charging exorbitant rates. His cash flow quadrupled, and now he's worth somewhere between $50 and $100 billion. How'd that happen?
Out of town. What makes you say that? I've never seen that figure. Where are you getting that from?
So this is possibly outdated. Let me look at the DJT stock. That's
and
it.
then I do want to touch on his relationship with the Saudi kingdom because that totally decides what Saudi Aramco is going to do. And we know that our entire economy and really the economy of the entire world operates on petroleum.
Yeah.
So I want to know the links there.
So if you look at, you can't see this, but just so that everybody else can see it, this is I've got the ticker for Trump Media and Technology, which is Truth Social. Their stock price is at $26. That is a worthless stock. They make no money. They lose money every single quarter. That it's not worth anything, but it's artificially pumped. And he's getting to the point now. I think he passed one of the vesting points, and you'll see he'll just dump this stock, and eventually this stock will be worthless, but not before he cashes out. And then you have these two crypto coins, the Melania coin and the Trump coin, where he owns 80%. And he gets the gas fee. So every time you buy Trump token, he gets 3%, and every time you sell Trump token, he gets 3%. And so he's made over
That's a crypto scam,
and he's made over $100 million so far doing that.
What was his name? Sam Altman. He was doing very similar.
Thing. Yes, it was Sam Bankman-Fried, you mean?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, but guess
Sam
what Trump
Altman's
did? Trump dismantled the same group that took down Sam Bankman-Fried, that under the Biden administration, we put together like a crypto team that would go and investigate all these crypto scams. Trump dismantled it. So that's why Hawk Tuah Girl's not in trouble, because Trump is doing this crypto scam.
Yeah, she ran one too.
Yeah, and now she's not. They dropped the prosecution because they got rid of that team. So Trump is running two crypto scams as we speak, and he's made $100 million.
But I mean, Sam.
And I still have to hear about Nancy Pelosi.
He was giving a lot of money to Democrats too, right?
Both. He said,
I'm taking it you're an independent guy.
I'm a registered.
Who leans left.
Yeah. But Sam Bankman-Fried said something really interesting. He said that he was shocked at how easy it was to get influence with very little money. That came out in his testimony. But yeah, he was bribing people in Congress, and they've been selling this forever. They're like, oh, crypto's totally good, man. It's totally the future. It's totally not one giant Ponzi scheme. And they've bribed Democrats and Republicans into believing that it's not a Ponzi scheme, even though it clearly is. And here we are. But now we're not even investigating it.
There's only a few of them cryptos that actually feasibly work, because the value is totally decided on what people say it is.
It's like one.
And whenever you try to write on your name to get it. Oh, I mean, no, not only that, you have Ethereum too.
Yeah, but
the
Ethereum,
blockchain's based off of Ethereum.
Yeah, but Ethereum only works because it's a base currency, and all these other cryptos that are built off of Ethereum, if those tank, then Ethereum tanks. Bitcoin's probably the only one that's going to really survive. Maybe Ethereum.
Entirely. You don't think anything on the blockchain of Ethereum will make it? Really?
No, they're all. I mean, they don't have any value. There's no utility to them.
I mean, there has been people that I know an old cattleman. His name's Roy. He's a cowboy, and he's about 60 years old, and he's in the second blockchain of Ethereum, and he's quadrupled his net worth through it.
Yeah, look, a lot of people made money with Bernie.
More cows and land.
A lot of people made a lot of money with Bernie Madoff too.
And Freddie Mac.
Well, Freddie Mac wasn't a Ponzi scheme, but Bernie Madoff was.
You don't think so? They always say Bernie Mae and Freddie Mac. They say them together.
No, you're thinking of Fannie Mae.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
All right. Hey, I got to get back to the show. It was good talking to you. Go research that stuff. Come back again. Let's talk again.
Absolutely. You should. Yeah, absolutely. You be good. You have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Be well. See you.
All right. Bye-bye.